Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Matthew and today I'm at Brake Crafters to go over motorcycle brake inspections with you. This is an easy, simple task you can complete primarily with visual inspection. Recommended if your motorcycle has been in storage, perhaps it's a new bike you acquired, a bike you're looking to purchase, or a rental or loaner. So it's important to be systematic, working from top to bottom and front to rear so we don't overlook anything. So let's take a look at what we have to begin with. And the first thing that stands out to me on this particular unit is that the brake master cylinder unit is not the factory original. It's been replaced with a remote reservoir unit as opposed to the integrated unit that came on it from the factory. Nothing wrong with this design, just different. And one of the things I see right away is, okay, the fluid is clean and clear. I like that. Fresh new brake fluid should be about the color of cooking oil. I do see the feed hose I'm not impressed with. It's basic vinyl tubing with your classic hardware store worm clamps that tend to tear into that tubing a bit. It's got a bleeder screw on it, a nice feature for a master cylinder helping to ease service. The dust cap's good, screw looks good, no leakage. Squeeze the lever, I got a nice firm feel. I can hear the brake light switch clicking, that's a good sign. Looking for any tattletales or red flags. I don't see any corrosion or bubbling paint anywhere near where fluid would be present. That's a good sign. Fluid and bubbling paint indicates leakage, seepage that will mandate a rebuild. Same thing on the feed side, clean and dry over here. I'm liking that. Okay, so master cylinder looks good in this respect. We'll next move down and take a look at the brake lines. Finishing up our inspection of the master cylinder, I see the brake light switch is intact and that both of the connectors are in place. This is important. They do get knocked off on occasion during cleaning and such. Looking at the fitting, it's clean, it's dry. I see fresh copper sealing washers here. I like that. However, my concern is the brake line. Now, notice that it is an odd angle in the fittings on the bottom here. This was not how it was in the factory. And this line rounding here needs to be adjusted. Because it's at a poor angle and bound up on the triple clamp, we've got a bit of a kink here right at the crimp point, which long term likely present us a problem. Once we get past that point, it looks pretty good. Routing looks okay. It's very important to be in front of the triple clamp. If the line were on the back side, then that would cause issues where it could get pinched or jammed up at the triple clamp. Not a good thing. Continuing down, the line looks clean, smooth. I don't see any checking. This is a braided steel line with a plastic coating over it. Most factory lines are rubber, and the rubber lines are prone to weather checking, cracking, and expansion. A good method for checking for expansion is to grasp the line firmly in your hand, give the lever a good strong He-Man squeeze, and if I feel excessive expansion in my hands at the line, that indicates to me the lines ought to be replaced. It'll give me a much firmer lever feel and better stopping power. Continuing down, there's a little rubber grommet floating around in the line here, and this is for a holder. There should have been a line holder on this bike at some point. It too has been removed, but that's what the grommet's for. Take a look at those, make sure your clips are in place, and if they're missing, replace them. At the caliper, the fitting looks good. Again, it's clean, it's dry, fresh copper. I like that. Bleeder screw, dust cap looks pretty good. Screw looks to be in good condition. Now, these are fairly soft metal, and whenever possible, you'll want to use a 6-point wrench when doing brake bleeding so as not to round them off. Continuing our visual inspection of the caliper, mounting bolts look good, they're not rounded off. This is a 6-piston opposed style, dual action caliper, and we've got junction points here. Look for leakage at those points as you're peeling bubbling paint. Got an inspection cover here I'm going to remove, and I've already loosened it up to speed the process, but we're going to remove this cover, have a look at the brake pads and hopefully the pistons. As it comes off, notice a couple of things. This particular one is a spring plate as well as an inspection cover, and it is pretty dirty on the inside, and this is common. The brake pads shed friction material over the course of their life and it sticks to things. I will want to clean this prior to reinstallation. Notice that, as we said, it's a bit of a spring plate. It keeps a little bit of tension on the pads so they don't vibrate. Brake squeal and noise is often the cause of the pads rattling back and forth inside the calipers. Looking inside, I see the brake pads look new, nice, fresh, gold. The retainer pin here is something we always want to look at. It is very common with time and mileage for them to become a groove or a notch in the retainer pin that the brake pad can get hung up on. This can cause sticky brakes, wooden or rough feeling brakes, or abruptness, so replace that pin anytime it shows wear and grooving. Looking further in, pads look to be virtually new. A lot of friction material visible here, and many pads will have a wear groove in them, very much like a tread wear indicator on a tire. That in that case, when the groove is worn flush, that would be the manufacturer's replacement point for the pads. I really can't see the pistons much in here because the pads are so new, but we would be looking at them for cleanliness. Again, just like the inspection cover, brake dust will build up on them, and I'll want to clean those with brake cleaner as needed. As we continue on with the brake rotor, initially just give it a good look. It should be nice and bright silver. Bluing, purpling, any discoloration of the rotor is a bad sign. Indicates aggressive or overuse of the brakes, possibly sticking calipers or something of that nature, and would be cause for concern. I would look at the surface of the rotor. Now, light grooving, as we see here, is normal wear. However, if the grooving is deep enough I can feel it significantly with my fingers, then I would have an issue there. It's a semi-floating rotor. If I had slop between the rotor and the carrier to these floating pins, that would be cause for concern. And lastly, the rotor has a minimum thickness. And on factory rotors, that is going to be stamped onto the rotor, and we measure it with calipers. A quick tattletale for that would be, is the rotor even all the way across? When there's excessive wear, the pads don't quite go to the edge of the rotor, and a ridge will, or notch, if you will, develop at the outer edge, suggesting that the rotor is worn and due for replacement. I want to make sure I put calipers on it at that point. So I've completed my inspection on this side. I would repeat for the other caliper and rotor on the driver's side. From there, we'll continue on to the rear of the motorcycle and finish up with the rear brake system. With the rear brake, the inspection process is pretty much the same. As I look at this reservoir cup, I see a couple things of concern. The fluid is darkened on this one and needs to be replaced at this point. Brake fluid should be replaced semi-annually every other season. The cap has a rubber gasket diaphragm underneath it that needs to be replaced periodically. And the oil cup itself, the plastic, is showing some age. Ultraviolet light, weather conditions, contaminated fluid, all lead to the deterioration of this plastic, and from time to time on older models these reservoir cups will need to be replaced. My pedal is solid. I have free play here, which is a good thing. It's important that we have free play. If we don't, it cause the brakes to drag, and we don't want to have excessive free play, otherwise the rider may not be able to fully engage the brake. And adjustments for that are accomplished via the screw and lock nut on the master cylinder here. Now, I can see a holder for a brake light here, but there's no brake light switch. And this is an aftermarket foot control, so at some point that's been removed. Not a good idea for street use. We ought to have a rear brake light on this. Continuing on, I really can't see the lines. They're hidden behind the frame components and the foot peg. I would have to remove this for proper inspection, or at least get it in with the light to see better. Continuing back on the line, again, we have a stainless steel line here. We like those. That's your performance line. The front had a solid black covering. This one has a clear cover over it, and it has yellowed. Not a problem, just not pretty. Note that some lines do not have a plastic coating on them, and the roughness of the stainless steel can abrade paint, powder coat, and anodizing, so be careful about that. Once again, as in the front, there is no brake line retainer here. Should have been a clip or something, I'm sure, to hold it. However, they've secured it with a zip tie. Not pretty, but functional, and it works. Continuing on, line looks good. It's dry here at the fitting. I can't see fresh copper washer, so this line's been on for a little while. You see the dust cap is splitting to the point where it's popped off there. We'll need to put a new dust cap on it before it's all said and done. But the bleeder screw's not rounded off. Caliper bolts look good, and critically, got a safety cotter pin here at the brake stabilizer arm. If that were to come off, that would be a very bad deal. The inspection cover on this one is on the bottom, as the caliper is mounted at the bottom side of the rotor. This little plastic deal, you can pop it off with a little pocket screwdriver or something of that nature. Like the front, it too is fairly dirty, cleaned before reinstallation. Because the caliper's on the bottom, I can't really see things too well. Now I can see that the pads look nice and fresh, and I like that. A little bit of garbage dangling here. I want to clean that off. To really do a proper inspection on this, I would have to lay down underneath the bike and look up underneath it, or perhaps unbolt the caliper. But we're looking for the same things as the front: wear on the pins, thickness of the pads, general cleanliness of the pistons. Same thing with the rotor, just as we did on the front. No excessive grooving, no discoloration, and consistent wear. If there's concern, again, find your minimum thickness on it and measure with calipers. And the wheels turning freely. I don't have any brake drag. That's a good thing. Dragging brakes are not something we want to have, and we need to address sticky calipers or pedal lever positions as needed there. So that's your basic motorcycle brake inspection. Only takes a couple of minutes, and hey, your life depends on it. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give us a like and subscribe to see more of our informational videos. And think about this: as you climb on your motorcycle to go for a ride, what's stopping you?